Welcome back to Yahoo Finance Live. I'm Julie Hyman, and we've been watching shares of Nvidia climb this year, as Zach was just alluding to. This week, the company has been holding its GTC conference and really introducing a number of really exciting and interesting technologies that its chips and software can power. Jensen Huang, the Nvidia founder and CEO, joins me now, along with our tech editor, Dan Howley. Jensen, thank you so much for being here. You guys came out with a lot of really fun stuff this week, and you did it in a presentation that showcased some of this technology, NVIDIA chips to power AI avatars, digital twins of things in the real world, your quantum 2 networking for cloud computing. So many different things this week. I don't know if it's like asking you to pick your favorite child, but I'm curious what you're most excited about amongst all of these things that you guys are working on.
Well, I'm most excited about the advances in computing, and ultimately all of that boils down to several things. I spoke about artificial intelligence and the platforms that we advanced to make automation a lot easier for all of the large companies. I spoke about Omniverse and the work that we're doing in enabling digital worlds and this engine we call Omniverse that simulates these virtual worlds. You mentioned one of the largest computers we're going to build. It's based on this new fabric that's called Quantum 2, the networking fabric or the nervous system of the data center. It's going to be a gigantic computer, has the ability to connect up to 1 million processors in this networking fabric. We also talked about the smallest robotics computer we call Jensen, and it's the most powerful robotics computer ever created, but it's the smallest computer we make. And so we spoke about AI, we spoke about Omniverse, we spoke about the world's largest computers, we spoke about the smallest computers. And what glues it all together is all the software that goes along with making this next generation of computing possible. We call it accelerated computing, and the world has really awakened to it and realized that in order to make possible accelerated computing, you have to be an expert in application domains and algorithms and mathematics and how it ultimately connects to the computing systems underneath. And so we talked about all of those things.
And I feel like over the past several years, there's definitely been an acceleration in talk about AI, about autonomous driving. Now, really over the past couple of months, in the public consciousness, talk about the metaverse has accelerated. When you talk about this next generation or next phase of computing, how close I mean, I know you're doing some of this stuff already, but in terms of critical mass, how close are we to that sort of edge of all of these things really catching on in a bigger fashion?
The Omniverse is closer than people think, and I showed examples, real world examples, how people are using it, designing and simulating factories, operating a digital twin of a heat recovery plant, a digital twin of an entire fleet of cars, a digital twin of robots, so that robots can learn how to be robots in these virtual worlds. And they have no clue that they're actually in a virtual world. And when they're done learning how to be a good operating robot, we'll download their software into a physical robot. And so the applications are here, they're real, and we're using it across a large number of industries. Omniverse is a new way of doing computing that brought together everything NVIDIA did, everything NVIDIA does in high performance computing, in computer graphics, in artificial intelligence. All of those technologies are fused together for the very first time in a new computing platform. We call that Omniverse. And that we hope will be the engine that the industry and the world could use to create virtual worlds and what some people call the metaverse and examples like that.
Jensen, it's Dan. I just want to know where I can get one of those little toy Jensen models. Second, I don't see a leather jacket. I feel very confused about that. But I want to talk to you about the auto industry and how you guys work with automakers. You make the self-driving technology. When do you see that kind of really exploding into the mainstream? I guess how has the pandemic impacted the work that you guys do with different automakers?
Yeah. First of all, I'm not dressed for work. I'm in Hawaii. I'm on vacation. And so aloha to everybody. And right in the middle of GTC, I'm supported by teams all over the world, and of course, we could do a lot of this digitally. So that's why I'm not wearing my work clothes. Um, uh, the pandemic has accelerated digital for all of the reasons why that many have already spoken about. We now realize that we have to be productive remotely, and we have to be productive more autonomously. And we have remoting technology, which is cloud computing. And now what is emerging is autonomous technology, which is ultimately artificial intelligence. The ability to automate tasks, the ability to automate skills that historically were impossible because the input to the computer, the input of the information, the data that comes in is so unstructured. You can't put them into columns and rows. And the long tail of diversity and differences and the subtle differences, sometimes large, sometimes very subtle, is such a long tail. It's impossible to have a simple first principle basis of describing that input. And there were no ways to do it until recently, which was machine learning and deep learning. And these very large models made it possible for us to learn the very, very long tails. And now we even have breakthroughs where you can recognize and learn skills of things that you weren't even trained to do because you've read about it, fusing natural language understanding and the big work that we're doing in this area called large language models has made it possible for us to have AIs that only read about it through all of the text that it's been trained with, and is never really explicitly trained on those particular tasks. We call that zero-shot learning. And some of those breakthroughs in the near future are going to be really important in life sciences, in cybersecurity, in fraud detection, and in recommending the type of things that are quite complicated and basically impossible to capture in algorithms.
Oh, you guys are doing some wild stuff, training these AIs in the Omniverse and kind of giving these AIs an experience that they would, normally need in the real world, but in a digital world. At what point do you see that kind of becoming, a major part of the business and kind of becoming almost the way that we train self-driving cars rather than, or any kind of AI really, rather than having to put people out and input this information, just putting that information into the AI and letting it take over on its own?
It's frankly impossible to have a robot perform 3D physical tasks, six domains of 6 degrees of freedom in the real world. You just can't do that. And so we have to create virtual worlds for them to learn how to learn their skills. And so these virtual worlds are essential to the next step of artificial intelligence. There's just no two ways about it. And when the robot or the AI, whether it's that robots, we're going to have millions of robots in the physical worlds, but we're going to have billions of robots in the Omniverse worlds, in the virtual worlds. And these billions of robots are learning to be physical robots. You could have 1 million of them learning how to be a good one robot, and they learn 1 million of them will learn a lot more quickly. You have many of the robots that are helping us iterate on particular ideas or designs that take too long or too difficult for us to implement here in the physical world. There'll be all kinds of avatars, and so the future robotics world is going to be largely in the virtual world, and that's what Omniverse was really created to do, to enable all of these alternate virtual worlds. Now the commerce, the economy of virtual world will be much, much bigger than the economy of the physical world. You're going to have more cars built and design in virtual worlds. You're going to have more buildings, more roads, more houses, more hats, more bags, more jackets. There'll be more things designed in virtual worlds and enjoyed in virtual world than there will be in the physical world. It's not limited by the conservation of mass or energy, and so it has the ability to flourish in a way that we can enjoy today. And so this new virtual world, this Omniverse world that we see, and what some people call Metaverse, is a 3D extension of the internet that's going to be much bigger than the 3D physical world that we enjoy today.
Jensen, this is mind-blowing stuff, I think, for most of us, and sort of hard to wrap your head around. You talked about Earth 2, for example, as well in your keynote. Being a financial reporter, I want to bring it back to the real world for just a second, because I have to ask you about the ARM deal, the ARM Holdings deal, which has come up against a lot of regulatory pressure. Strategically, how do you see Nvidia going forward if the deal doesn't happen, and how do you plan to deploy that cash that it would have been used for the ARM acquisition?
We would go forward very nicely as we're going forward today. We have, we support every CPU in the world, and we support x86s of Intel's x86, AMD's x86. We support ARM CPUs of our own. We support ARM CPUs of others, and so we support all CPUs. We love the flourishing of CPUs, and the reason for that is because wherever there's the CPU is the first, if you will, the first chip in the system, and that's why it's called the central processing unit. It boots the operating system, and wherever there are CPUs, there are opportunities for accelerated computing, and so we would like to see expansion of the diversity of CPUs of all kinds, and we'll seek to accelerate the computing environments and the applications for all of them. The benefit of ARM being part of Nvidia is that we could accelerate their R&D scale. ARM, as you know, is quite successful in mobile devices, but we could help them be much more successful in all of the other areas of computing. And so there are wonderful benefits in our ability to help them turbocharge their R&D scale. However, as we're independent today, you could see that Nvidia continues to do really terrific things, and wherever we could expand the reach of ARM, we do. We announced the most powerful robotics processor ever built. We call it Orin. Orin is now in the beginning phases of production, and will power self-driving cars and robots and autonomous machines of all kinds, agriculture equipment, and undersea robots and above sea robots, and so there are all kinds of things that we're going to power. The Omniverse, and I really appreciate that you're asking about the financial implications of Omniverse. The Omniverse for us comes in a whole lot of different forms. The first part, of course, in order to power this new age, this new world, this virtual world, you need a special type of computer, and that's the computer that we built. It includes artificial intelligence and computer graphics and physics simulation, and to do it at very large scales. That's right up the alley of what Nvidia does for a living. The second is the engine that we created to enable this Omniverse world is an engine that could be used for all companies and all application companies and services and to use to create their virtual worlds. And so we have a lot of ways that we can serve the ecosystem in the industry and building the metaverse world.
Jensen, it's Dan again. I just wanted to ask about the chip shortage and how you guys are navigating that. I'm a big gamer. I have a Nvidia chip in my desktop that I built because I'm a giant dork. But I wanted to know how you guys are navigating that and what you see as far as the final kind of outcome of this, and when we'll start to see it start to dissipate.
Yeah, demand for all of the reasons that has been spoken about and one of the primary reasons of extraordinary demand on both sides of it. People are starting to build more and more home workstations, and the reason for that is because their home is now their office, and so more people have to build home workstations, and when they're at home, they prefer to have a permanent system, and so desktop computers are doing incredibly well. People are spending more time playing games because they're not able to travel as much, and so I think these are permanent conditions, and we're going to see new computers being built for quite a long time. People are building home offices, and you could see all of the implications of that in the supply chain, and so I think number one, home gaming PCs, home workstations are really important things that people are building. Second, when they're at home, they use the cloud a lot, and so all of the cloud computing infrastructure is really expanding and growing nicely. These are our main two revenue drivers today, and we build home PCs for gaming, and we build workstations, and on the other hand, we're in cloud computing. And so both of these markets are growing incredibly fast, and the demand is really quite high. It'll take a while for us to be able to see a time when supply exceeds demand. I think that through next year, demand is going to far exceed supply. We don't have any magic bullets in navigating the supply chain. We have the support of all of our suppliers. We're fortunate in that we are multi-sourced. We're fortunate in that our supply chain is quite diverse, and we have our company is quite large, and so we have the support of a large ecosystem around us, and they're doing everything they can to help us. And so we're just going to have to work super hard and get supply out to the marketplace.
And Jensen, finally, we've been showing folks your stock chart while we've been talking to you, and obviously the performance has been pretty incredible. You guys are the biggest chip maker by market cap, as you have had this outperformance both in your growth and in the stock price. As you lay out the growth you've been experiencing and these really ambitious plans that you have, does the premium that you guys are trading at, is that a concern at all for you, or do you think that it accurately reflects these ambitious plans that you have?
I'm delighted that people are excited about the work that we're doing, and we try to do impactful work that has never been done before for large markets, and to make a real contribution. Artificial intelligence is unquestionably the most powerful automation force, technology force the world's ever known. And for us to be able to automate transportation, to healthcare, to logistics, to retail, to manufacturing, all of the industries that we can automate. And when you automate, you drive productivity, you drive growth, and industries are seeking always to automate, because we're always seeking to improve our performance, improve our efficiency, improve our growth opportunities. And artificial intelligence is understandably the best way for us to do that going forward. And I think people are excited about that. People are excited about the fact that Nvidia is not a traditional chip company, a semiconductor company. And we're not a traditional semiconductor company because we're rich with software, and we're rich with the ability to open new markets. The software that we create is essential for accelerated computing, because the computing model we pioneered is a full stack software approach and computing approach. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And so we do it because we have to, but we also do it because it opens the opportunity to solve new problems. It opens ability for us as a chip company to have self-driving cars on the road, the full stack self-driving cars. It allows us to create something like Omniverse and to enable an entire new industry. It allows us to create robotics platforms It allows us, of course, to create the artificial intelligence platforms that now 25,000 companies are using around the world. And so I think people are excited about the technology that we've created, but activating that technology in so many industries and opening such exciting opportunities ahead. And so I'm delighted that people see the potential in our company, and I'm looking forward to inventing the future we've discussed.
And we're looking forward to seeing it. Really exciting, interesting vision that you're laying out, visions really, because there are so many different aspects of it. Jensen, thanks for joining us from vacation. We really appreciate it. As the GTC conference goes on, Jensen Huang is founder and CEO of Nvidia, and our Dan Howley. Thanks again, Jensen. Hope to catch up with you again soon.